Hello, hello, hello. Welcome to a new week. New week.
Hey.
Yeah, another AI week. Last week
Mhm.
we had our session last week. We recorded on Wednesday last week, but it's good to be
Yep.
back on Monday. I think I like Mondays, kind of like giving me the balls to start the week.
Right, that's right.
So, yeah, just keeping you updated what's going on. I mean, before the week starts, before the craziness of everything happening within the week, just listening. So thank you for joining us. If you're joining us today, if you're joining us for the first time, make sure to like and subscribe to the channel. And yeah, thank you. Neil, how was your week? How was the weekend?
The weekend was busy. I was traveling, but
Oh,
good to be back.
yeah, good to be back. Welcome back. Right. So we have a lot of interesting stories. I mean, last week we started with the main story, and I think it was really interesting. Do you mind starting with next main story again this week?
Um, yeah, so I'll start with the one that got lots of excitement this week. Obviously, the ChatGPT now, ChatGPT Developer Mode now allows you to sort of connect your MCP servers. So you know how
Oh,
ChatGPT have connectors. It allows you to connect to your calendar, Google Drive, and I think it's shipped with some standard out of the
yeah.
box MCP servers. But their developer mode, if you switch it on from your ChatGPT settings, it sort of allows you to now get connect your own MCP server or any custom MCP server running anywhere.
Oh, wow.
So it supports SCE streaming HTTP, which is part of the MCP, obviously. It's also support OAuth. So I've already seen some hacker videos about how that's sort of, I mean, MCP and prompt injection has a huge security challenges, right? I already saw people there is a way to game this up and extract information from you. Secret passwords and stuff. So be very careful. I mean, it's developer mode. I'm not assuming who's anybody's gonna enable that, but for developers who jumping onto this, just be careful which MCP server you connect to because there is definitely lots of security concerns.
Oh, yeah. Security concern is going to be obviously, especially for those building for public. I think it's going to be
Mm,
mostly for them. So let's say you're building an app or a mobile app. I think while you're
yeah,
working,
yeah.
just
So I mean,
being careful.
yeah. And I think this is a good move, though, if you zoom out from the security concerns and whatnot. Um, ChatGPT is sort of becoming a truly your assistant going forward, right? It's just not a chat interface anymore. Once it starts to connect to your custom connectors and stuff, that means it can do more stuff for you, right?
Yeah, yeah, definitely. It means it
Yeah,
can do more stuff for you. I think it also is going to lead to the part where it starts taking like its own autonomous
right.
actions. You just go on to carry on tasks by itself without even
That's you use a
you know.
very you
So I
use the
think that's the
keyword,
level
yes,
where
actions. And so instead of giving you suggestions, now it can actually act on it.
that's an act.
Yeah,
Yeah, yeah. So I guess that's the level we're going to unlock with ChatGPT
yeah,
going
yeah.
forward with this new
Yeah, that
introduction.
begs a
So
lot of interesting
right.
questions that we don't have to talk about, but I think this is an active research, right? Is the chat going to be an universal interface to interact with these tools? Because there are lots of,
Yeah.
right? I mean, something about this feels like that there must be a better way to sort of interact with AI, but we'll see.
Yeah. Okay. Let's see. The first story I have for today is an interesting one. I saw it on LinkedIn over the week and I was like, okay, we really need to talk about this. So Anthropic, which is the guys that own Claude and yeah, Claude Code and the rest of them. So they will be settling a $1.5 billion author lawsuit. So what happened here is that some authors went to court and they sued Anthropic and they said, "Oh, you used our book, pirated copies to train your models, right?" And then, according to Anthropic, they said they don't want to waste time in courts trying to drag, "Oh, are you who is right and who is wrong?" So they are going to pay these authors, and they're paying as high as $3,000 for each for over 500,000 books. So they're paying for each book they use to train their model. They're paying $3,000, and they're paying
Oh,
this
it's a
across
so
almost
it's a
500,000
publisher
books.
that sued them, or
Yeah, the
okay.
authors.
So it's a group
Yeah,
of
the authors.
authors.
Yeah, the group of
Mm,
authors. Yeah, the group of
mm,
authors. So, and yeah, so they obviously they are claiming that these guys took their work without giving them some credit. I don't even think it was about credit. I think it's about the data used to train this AI,
mm,
right? So I think this also sets the precedence for data sets, right? And how to legally and illegally source for data
mm,
sets. And then also licensing deals between like AI companies and authors. I think it's a very important lawsuit, especially for authors and people that write like take time. I mean, you're also an author yourself, right? Have you checked if your book is used to
I'm
train?
pretty sure. I think I checked who is Nilanjan. I think it gave me like author of Scala in Action and stuff. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. So, you know, so I think it's one of those things, right? So legally sourcing for data sets that we use to train this AI, I think this is like a big
Mm,
one, and it's a big win for the authors. I think it's a big win for the authors.
yeah.
Yeah. So what do you think?
Yeah. I mean, there's a thin line here, right? But yeah, no, it makes
You,
sense. I mean, if it's
you
your
are an
work,
author
if it's your
and
work,
you're
yeah,
building
if it's
AI.
your work that's somebody sort of using it and it's your copyright, I mean, it makes sense to me. I was talking about this a little bit. Maybe it's not related to this, but I feel like we are getting into the world where half of it's not half, probably it's not 10%, 15% of the content on internet is written by AI, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Do you sometimes worry that internet is going to be filled with all the content that AI is generating and become like a worthless place?
Yeah. Yeah. So I was asking I've been taking this AI
Yeah,
engineering course,
yeah,
right? So in my class
yeah,
last week, I have these people that I learn with to have like sort of discussion. And I asked them, so if this ChatGPT is trained with over 1 trillion data
yeah.
sets, right? And these data sets are sourced from all over the internet. So what happens when the data sets on the internet are now generated by this AI? So what happens, right? So took us into like a lot of deep conversations about how we may start seeing hallucination coming back again because when the content that is being used to train the AI are also generated by
Mm,
AI, right? We might start seeing things like hallucination. We might lose touch about what is between what is
mm,
real human content and what is AI
mm.
generated content. But then someone made a point during our conversation that data, real human content is going to become like oil. Right? You know, the way it's going to become very scarce. It's going to become
Correct,
like gold,
correct.
right? So then the price is going to go up. And then people, so if you are a company or an organization, you want to build your own AI, you're going to pay ridiculous amount of money to be able to
Mm,
access original
mm,
data, right? So that is where we might get. So I'm worried about it, right? Especially as someone who is interested in
mm.
AI, I'm very worried about it, and I think this
Yeah,
is
I mean,
yeah,
it. Yeah, I'm worried that we're gonna lack creativity and again, you know what I mean, right? I mean, new way of
yeah,
thinking is gonna all feel like same because right now the workflow is that I use AI to generate a long email. The receiver's probably copying the email and going to AI to summarize it, right? I mean, this is the workflow we have
and
to
then
do for the
write a response,
response
write
using
a
AI.
response to
So
this
I mean,
email for me, and you just
yeah,
edit,
yeah,
yeah. So I think we've moved from where we come up with creative ideas and then we
yeah,
edit it to the point where AI come up with the
yeah,
ideas and we edit. So I want to do this, AI will do, and I read through and I edit.
yeah,
Oh, I don't want
yeah,
this, and we are now editors. AI is the creator, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So
So this bit goes back to this is the last thing I'm going to say before I go to my next story. Like sometimes I wonder, like we are getting into the point where we're not reading books, right? We are summarizing books, and nobody got time to read 300 pages. Hey, ChatGPT, summarize this book for me, and it just
yeah,
gives you the highlights, right? But there is a value in going through page by page, discovering new insights, right? I'm talking about nonfiction
yeah,
books, right? And
yeah,
and I feel like when you summarize with some tools, you miss out those opportunities. Um,
yeah,
I think people who read books will have superpowers. I mean, I think because most of them are already stopped reading books. I mean, if you want to differentiate in the market, read books. It's
yeah,
crazy to hear that, but I think that's becoming reality because that will give you edge and insights that everyone is not getting it because they're just summarizing stuff with AI, So anyway,
yeah, yeah, yeah.
um,
Summarization is going to be a big problem, right? Because I
big
mean,
problem. I feel like it
we have
misses
apps
out also.
we have
Yeah,
apps these days that just summarizes the book, convert it to audio. All you need to do is just to listen,
right,
right? So there is
right,
also conversation about attention span, which the internet age has reduced over a
right,
period of time. I mean,
right.
I struggle to read long form articles these days. I wake up in the morning, I go to Medium
Mm,
and I try to read. Sometimes I'm bored in between. I'm saying, okay, no, this is my task for the day. First task, I need to finish this, no matter how long and
mm,
boring it is, because
mm,
sort of my brain, talking about myself now, my brain has sort of gotten used to reading tweets, 260 characters. I just read,
mm,
okay, yeah, just get the main thing
mm,
and move on. So I
mm.
think reading long form articles, reading books is going to become a huge deal in the future,
I think so.
nearer
I
future.
think so. I think so.
Yeah,
So next story is, I mean, this story kind of highlights how important vibe coding has become. So Replit raises a lot of money, around $250 million, a three billion dollar valuation. I think their valuation just tripled within a year because their revenue actually gone from 3 million to 150 million within a year. So that just sort of highlights how vibe coding is becoming very popular. And this is just truly and very expanding and with huge opportunities. Obviously, venture firm finds lots of opportunities here. Going back to like giving everyone ability to build something, I think is pretty amazing. I know as an engineer, we talk about, oh, it's not production ready, the code probably sucks. But at the end of the day, people are using these tools to solve real problems. That's just demonstrate how important these tools are becoming. So this also goes into saying all the competitors like Cursor and Cognition, the creator of Debian, all of their valuations actually tripled or doubled in the last few months. So we're going to continue to see this trend. I was looking about Agent 3 and how that's different. I fundamentally find very hard. I mean, people, please correct me. In the space of vibe coding tools, all the tools sort of feels very similar to me. But one thing I noticed about Replit 3, Agent 3 is that they obviously I think going beyond building app now. I think they're heavily focusing on like the whole software development lifecycle. Building is one aspect of it, right? Someone needs to test it, quality checks, deploying the apps. I think they're focusing more on end-to-end lifecycle. And assuming they've been advertising a lot that the agent can run up to 200 minutes, demonstrate that this agent is sort of capable of handling large tasks, not only build complicated apps essentially. And most of the other tools probably has a very time limit, maybe 10 minutes or 15 minutes. 200 minutes is pretty impressive. The first thing that came to my mind when I read the story, holy shit, how much money you're paying for the models. 200 run it. An AI agent for 200 minutes means lots of tokens.
oh, wow, yeah. So I think 2 or 3 episodes ago we were asking. I think there is this clip that I posted where we kept on asking. So why coding agents? Why is everybody building coding agents? Why
Yeah.
are companies investing heavily? Why are they buying off coding agent companies?
Yeah.
So I think I still have the same questions here today because just like you said earlier, so as engineers, we're always saying these are not production ready. I mean, I still read a paper last week, that was talking about how back end and database connection is still an issue in vibe coded apps. And I'm like, okay, so why? So if we're still at that level, why? And I think it's good business for Replit. I mean, their CEO is one of the major people that championed vibe coding as we have it today. He was one of those that started talking about that. I listened to a couple of podcasts where he was, advocating for vibe coding and all. I think it's good business for them, good money. But is this really the deal? Is this really
No, I mean,
is this
I
really the
think it
deal?
is. I mean, obviously my sample size is pretty small, but I did a vibe coding session on a conference last week, right? There was a local conference in here with one of
Yeah.
my friend here. He was the one who was running it. I was just kind of helping him out. And we had all sorts of folks on the room. I mean, we had a data analyst, we had a marketing guy, we had a product manager. There were a few engineers, but most of them are non-technical folks. I mean, they don't know what GitHub is, but they understand that now I can sort of take an idea and build something with it. I think it's super powerful. I mean, end of the conference, I mean, we had a couple of our workshop. By end of that, everyone sort of built a working application.
Wow.
If
Wow.
imagine you for the first time building Hello World, right? This is a tremendous experience. Oh, look, I built something that runs with my idea. Once you
Yeah.
get, that's how I got hooked to programming. Oh, dude, I can create things. I think that's a huge superpower. No wonder these tools have become so popular.
Yeah, I mean, it's so for people who, I mean, the very non-technical folks, being able to build stuff is a
Yeah,
good selling point. I mean, who doesn't want to build stuff? Who doesn't want to see their idea come into
yeah,
life? Right? So
yeah.
it's a good selling point. But I'm even more bothered about the sustainability. 5, 10 years. So how are
Oh,
we?
oh, dude, I noticed huge list of, maybe it was fake, but I did predict that a few months back that there are going to be huge stream of opportunities for engineers. You can just try it out.
Yeah.
I was thinking of trying it out, changing my title on LinkedIn saying, I fix broken vibe coded apps. And they came up with lots of interesting titles. Vibe coding fixer, I will help you fix your vibe. So, all this stuff get produced and you need some engineer to drop in and fix it.
Yeah.
There's going to be huge opportunity.
Yeah, while I was trying to talk about our Chrome extension on Twitter, I was trying to comment, look at how freelancer. I saw a guy that created an Upwork profile, and then that's what the profile is all about. I fix broken vibe coding apps. So and I was like, okay, this is really smart, but I mean, it's
Really, really smart because lots of these
so
guys this non-technical folks gonna reach out to you. Hey, I built this. I just want
yeah,
this one more feature. I couldn't get it working.
yeah. I mean, it's interesting, and I'm really looking forward to see you know how it's going to be like. Are engineers really going to go into this and make money? And then I think there's also a thing about how much more softwares can we create, right?
Oh, there is no limit to
So I think
this.
there's no
No,
limit to
this
that.
is
Yeah,
this
so
is
if there's no
this is
limit,
classic induced
then
demand, right? More the cheaper it gets,
yeah,
the demand will increase.
increase. Yeah, so I think it's an interesting thing. We are going into interesting times, and then we'll get to see what happens in the near future. All right. So my next story is from OpenAI. So I think this story gathered a lot of interest over the week. At some points, is this Sergey some Apple Oracle CEO, right? Oracle CEO, trying to get his name, Larry Ellison, right? Larry Ellison. He overtook Elon Musk as the richest man in the world at some point within the week, right? So, yeah, you saying something? Okay, so he overtook Elon Musk as the richest man in the world during the last week, and that was due to a lot of people said that was due to this contract that he signed with OpenAI. So he signed a $300 billion Oracle deal, and so OpenAI will spend $300 billion over 5 years, starting from 2027, on Oracle Cloud
Mm,
Compute, and this is one of the biggest cloud contracts
mm,
ever. So it secures 4.5 gigawatts of compute capacity under Project Startgate, and this is for OpenAI, right? So Oracle is going to build like massive optimized data centers, adding redundancy to OpenAI, and this adding redundancy to OpenAI's infrastructure, and this reduces dependence on single provider, while potentially introducing new specialized hardware and energy efficiency architectures for
mm,
OpenAI. So I think this is really, really going to benefit OpenAI in a lot of ways. So they're going to get more compute, they're going to get greater cloud diversity, they're going to get like more stability, and they can even reduce their prices, because if they have like great cloud diversity, which means probably like spend less, and then they can even reduce their prices and compete more, in the market. And then also this sets precedents to expect more multi-year mega deals, especially in the cloud and AI space. I think it's something I don't think we've seen something like this over in the AI since the whole AI conversation started. And I think this is a very interesting one. And this also goes to, say, echo back again on how important cloud is going to be in the next 5 years, cloud computing and, everything happening around
yeah.
the cloud. I
I,
guess
I
why they
was
didn't
so
sign this
confused
deal
with
with
this
people
story.
like,
I don't get it, man. I'm gonna have to talk about it. I just don't get it. Out of the blue, something happens like this. Why even Oracle doing this? I have lots of why questions, but it's good for them. I mean,
because I was
I want to understand how
so
much of this are
I
real
also thought
versus
about it.
vaporware.
I don't know either. I don't know how much of it is real, but I
Why
mean,
Oracle is
my
doing it?
first
Aren't
thought
they
was,
database
okay, why not?
company? I've stopped using Oracle. I don't know why Oracle did. How's Oracle database doing? Right, they are a database company, right? Oracle.
Yeah, they're a database company. Yeah. So all the cloud companies I know off my head, Google, Amazon, Microsoft, they already have like a lot of things going on in the AI space for them. And
So I
I
have a
didn't even
question for
know
you. Why
Oracle is into
OpenAI is
cloud.
not working with Amazon? I understand why they will not work with
Exactly.
Google. I
Maybe because
understand they're sort of competing with them. Why not? Where is Amazon in this? I mean, they have much. I'm assuming they have a better cloud infrastructure than Oracle. Yeah, it's very confusing to me. Super confusing. But I
yeah, it's actually
understand
very
for a time
confusing.
bit, is he still the richest man or Elon Musk crossed him? I think he was richest man
I think Elon
for a
Musk
day. A
for a
few
few minutes,
minutes,
for
for a
a
few
day or
minutes,
something,
he
a
was
few
richest
hours,
man.
a few hours
Yeah.
with Elon
Wow.
Musk.
That's nuts.
Yeah.
Yeah, I know for a fact. I don't own
That,
Oracle stock. Wish I did, because that day I think the stock went 40%. That's
yeah,
crazy. I
it
could have
went
met
up.
on somebody that day. But I know friends who own them and
Yeah,
they've been owning them for a long time, so they had a really good day. Speaking of
yeah,
cloud and
very good.
GPUs, I do have an interesting story from NVIDIA. NVIDIA is planning to release a new GPU called Rubin CPX. I'm sure CPX stands for something, which I don't have it on my notes here. Um, this is interest. This is a really interesting one. I mean, we could turn this into a main story. I was trying to understand this or why it's important. But anyway, so their new class of GPU built specifically, okay, hear me out, for massive context inference. So think million token prompts for coding a long form video. Okay. So when I heard the GPU is sort of this GPU specifically tuned for massive context inference, I immediately I got a question like, why it matters? I heard about context window for large language models. Why context window for GPU is really important, right? We don't ever talk about GPU having context window, but this GPU is mainly tuned for that. Um, so what is that? Obviously, everybody's going for large context, right? Because that means there's more background, more context you can feed in your entire code base and it work on it. I mean, context is the king in this applications. So I did a bit of research about this, like why it really matters to have a context window for GPUs. It turns out the context window that we keep hearing from large language models is obviously the property of the model's architecture, right? We all understand this. Like, hey, what is that? I mean, we talked about a model that has a 1 million context window or something. I think Claude, in fact, have a one that has a 1 million. I think Claude Pro or Max, there is a specific flag you can put that have. So anyway, it's just an architecture of a large language model. But if you think about it, the context window, the size of the context we need, even if a model's architecture is practically, there is a limitation, and that limitation is driven by how much compute and memory you have model can use to process, right? Larger context window means more tokens to process, more tokens means more math operations. Typically, the limitation of this context window is completely driven by how much computing juice I can get out of GPU. So now if you have GPUs that can process million tokens, we would see this essentially, this sort of a bottom-up innovation, right? This will immediately force or allow this model providers to, oh, I can redesign my model now because I have the computing power that I can tap into. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So this is sort of pretty interesting. It's not only we're seeing innovations happening from the model side, NVIDIA pushing innovation through GPUs, opening up this inference window, making a bigger inference window, will allow model creators to build models with larger context window. So that immediately gonna unlock lots of possibilities with AI coding tools.
Yeah, that's interesting. I think a million context. Everybody's going for more context
Yeah.
window these days, right? I don't know. Do you think that's good or bad? I think I've asked you this
Yeah, I mean,
from previous episodes.
as long as models are able to read through that large context window and infer better information that is relevant to your prompt, is good, right? Where we see it struggles
Yeah,
because it gets confused, right? There is a classic problem, right? It remembers the beginning of your context and then it forgets the middle. I wonder, most
yeah,
of this are because it lacks the infrastructure to power that context window, right? I mean, not only it's doing context window, it's actually, I'm going through the notes. This GPU will be fine-tuned to, probably fine-tune is not the right word here. I mean, optimized for this, what was that? They use this algorithm to do this a lot. It's optimized to optimize for the math operations that we usually do for inference, right? When you get the token and you do comparison, this
yeah.
GPU will be optimized for that. So if that's true, then I'm assuming this will power the model to retain more information, if that makes sense. So
Yeah.
maybe context engineering will disappear. I don't know, but this is an innovation in the right direction.
Yeah. Okay. I mean, nothing I've we are still, it feels like we're just throwing things on the wall, trying to see what sticks. Hopefully we'll find it, maybe whether it's context engineering or what's the other one called, prompt engineering. One of them will eventually stick
So
one
this
day.
is a good analogy for non-technical folks in our podcast. Think of model as sort of a brain, right? How smart it is, how much it can remember, like it's all the memory. So think of GPU as muscle and blood flow, right? Even if your brain has that power, which is a model, the question is, can it actually handle that memory and math fast enough? For that, you need sort of muscle and blood flow.
Yeah,
That's what GPU is providing. So think of Rubin
yeah.
CPX as a just bigger muscle, faster blood flow.
Hmm. All right. Okay, so the next story I have here is a little bit political. I mean, maybe not political. It's just that Switzerland, the
Mm.
country Switzerland, they launched Apertus open source LLM. So they call it Apertus. So it's a combination of, I think, about 3 or 4 schools, universities, institutions in Switzerland. They came together to, launch this open source foundation model. It has 8 billion and 70 billion parameter versions and is fully transparent, trained on 15 trillion tokens, trained on 15 trillion tokens across 1,000 languages. So, and 40% of these languages are non-English languages, which is why what I find interesting and why I actually picked up this interest in this particular story. So, this is, I'm sure that these 40 languages are also like languages within their country or within or around their, where
Mm.
their country is. So, and last week, on Wednesday, we talked about, I was telling you how the best model for Nigerian languages is Llama, which is by Meta. And that's because for years, Facebook is very popular here. And for years, people have been typing in local
Mm.
languages on Facebook, right? So I'm guessing
Mm.
that's why they have the best. If you use their Meta AI on WhatsApp, it understands my
Wow,
local
that's
language
impressive,
very
right?
well, right? But
Mm.
yeah, impressive, right? Impressive. Right? So if when you now want to go to voice or you want to go to translation or voice model, that is where you notice that there is no
Mm.
data at all. Now, individuals, especially people living in countries like mine, they may not have the funding to be able to create and
Mm.
train these models. But when the government gets involved, they have the resources to be able to say, oh, okay, we're investing this amount of money for you to go research on this, create the data, and even like publish it. So, which is why I'm interested in this. So, 40% of the languages that this model can understand are not non-English languages, and these languages are mostly like languages in the EU and around their country. So, it shares everything: ways, checkpoints, training data, documentation, receipts, and it is a
Mm.
public data set. It's trained only on public data sets with
Mm.
copyright compliance. Of course, they are government and they will do that, right? So um, I think it's really important because it has like this multilingual support. I think that's like the most important part of this
Mm.
particular model. And then it's also a blueprint, especially for countries that want to create
Mm.
their own models. This like
Mm.
a head start for countries that want to do
Mm.
things like that. So yeah, I really think it's
Mm.
interesting.
Yeah, it's very interesting to see that coming out of Europe. Good thing for open source. You said it's open source, correct? Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, it's open source. It's on Hugging Face.
I
Everybody
saw
can
another
access.
open source AI coding tool. There are some coming every week, just to let everybody know that
Yeah,
we don't follow, we don't report everything. We
I,
don't have. Yeah.
I have
Okay.
another
Okay.
one
Do you have?
after
Okay.
this.
Okay. Cool. I do see every now and then a new pop up.
Every now and then.
Yeah. In retrospect, I'm glad we discontinued our dev agent. There is no way we can differentiate anyway. So there's another. I wonder whether
Appreciate,
this
yeah.
type of blogs are sort of popping up. There's this type of blogs are very popular in Hacker News also. The whole productivity paradox of AI coding assistants. I mean, we covered this, right? I mean, I so you take. I'm going to share the story. Okay, let me share the story. Then I'll give you my 2 cents. So it's saying that even though there is this whole hype around this tools makes you 10x productive, the real world experiences shows that there is sort of a paradox. AI feels faster, but often it isn't. Okay.
In the
And so
sense.
it's not that productive. And so even though developers reports it
Okay.
feels 20 times faster, and this blog talks about a theory which sort of I agree with that. So developers report that it feels 20% faster with AI, but control study shows that it's actually 19% slower. The reason for it feels
Yeah.
faster is that whole this dopamine thing about instant code, right? I mean, the moment I put a prompt, I see things change. And
Yeah.
it does makes you feel sort of productive. Um, but more context also. But the challenge here is the more context you give, the context rot. Now, all this, I'm not going to go through details of this blog because I think it's sort of cycling the same news, same stuff. AI scaffold 70%, 70% of the AI can scaffold 70% of the features, but lost 30%. We sort of talked about it, right? Yeah. So developers' roles are becoming more as a reviewer and stuff, which I don't think most of the developers mind though. But uh, the human developers are spending a lot more time sort of reviewing PRs these days than actually writing code. And also have to understand is that typing is never a bottleneck, right? Coding is not hands on the keyboard. There's more to that. And lots of organizations do understand that, right? There is a design architecture and everything. So yeah, so there's another blog talking about this. Just be careful when you sort of introduce this tools to your organization and don't expect magic, right? Initially, you're going to probably see productivity go down a little bit before you see some progress happening. And lots of this, and there were folks in the conference also was complaining, oh, this doesn't work. And most of the time it's sort of, you just kind of drop in Cursor, Replit, I don't know about Replit, Lovable, or I don't know what, GitHub Copilot and expect magic. You have to completely understand how to do Claude.md file, writing project rules, providing detailed context. Make sure you outline, you're planning the solution before you jump on the code. All these are sort of a new skills that team needs to learn before they can see any reasonable progress out of this tool.
Yeah, I also think people. Well, I think I had one very quick question for you, right? The AI can actually teach me how to do all the other stuff
Yeah,
I need to know to be able to do the
yeah,
basic effort. Yeah,
yeah,
so I think still, yeah, it's still a win-win. Yeah, right. So still a win-win, and I think one of the parts of AI I feel like we've not explored a lot is the learning capabilities of AI. So recently I go back to our 80/20 and I look at the prompts that people are
yeah,
generating, right? I've, I'm manually looking at it and I've seen a lot of AI machine
yeah,
learning prompts has been coming. People have been generating
yeah,
courses on AI, machine learning, and
yeah,
all those things. And sometimes I go to dig in just to see what it's
yeah.
giving them, right? And I found like a lot of valuable. There is one I had to save the guy's link personally on my notes because I want to keep going back to his course. I tried generating it on my own. It didn't give me the same
Interesting.
content. It gave him a very beautiful. I
Mm,
copied his prompts for myself. He didn't give me the same thing. I had to save
mm,
his his course so that I go in to dig into his
mm.
materials, right? So like I was looking for a Python for AI engineers YouTube video. I haven't seen, but I saw with
I
these
see.
guys' prompts, and I was like,
I
wow,
see.
this is
I see.
really interesting, right? So I think it's also the ability for AI to break down very difficult concepts. I can give it something that I don't understand. I say, break this down to me like
Yeah,
I'm 10 years old. I understand it. I cannot go back to read like the full blown article. So I've not heard people talk about how to learn using AI, the methodologies. I know Gemini launched something new for learning. I think ChatGPT also, OpenAI also launched something like that. But nobody has is maybe I've not looked in the right place, but I've not seen people talk about you know learning with AI apart from maybe
yeah,
our 80/20. You guys should
yeah,
check out
yeah.
80/20 though. It's really interesting.
And I think there is productivity challenges with this too, and I don't have a good answer for that. Sometimes when you get hooked into that prompt-based building thing, it doesn't matter which tool you're using. I think it's very important to know that if you're a developer, obviously for non-dev, there is no way for them to get out of that. If you're a developer, you gotta have to, I mean, it might be easier for me to go change the file than prompt the model to fix it, right? I think
Yeah.
understanding that boundary, which is hard because the models are getting better with every upgrade. So this line is shifting constantly. I think that's critical knowing that because sometimes I get stuck into that feedback loop and not see much progress happening, even though I see lots of things getting generated. I think knowing that, saying, now, you know what, let me take over and fix it.
Yeah.
I think it's going to become an important skill. All right, that was my last
All
story.
right.
So you
So
continue.
yeah, I think I could
Sure.
just do one last story and then we'll call it a day. All right. So very quick one. So this is from OpenAI. Before I do the last story, so this is from OpenAI. It is they launched this Groove program, and they said it is a 5-week program starting from October 20th for pre-idea or early stage founder who want to participate in, want to build like AI stores, right? So I think it's hybrid, sort of, from what I saw. I think it's hybrid. They have like remote and then also like physical collaboration in San Francisco. You just need to like come up with your stuff. So if you're interested, I think you should visit OpenAI blog. I'm going to share the link in the comments, right? So you can apply if you are building something or you have an idea or you want to learn about how to build AI stuff. All right. So the last story I have for today is UAE, that's United Arab Emirates, released what they call K2 Think, a reasoning model. And then I have it on my screen here. I asked a very interesting question, so I want to share my screen and talk about.
A model from UAE. I don't think we have done this before.
Yeah, yeah, model from UAE. Okay, so I asked it what is Tubian, and then he said it does not have information about it. Yeah. So when I saw this, I wanted to put us on the spot. What difficult question do you think we should ask this model, and to know if it can answer? Obviously, it doesn't have access to the internet. Yeah. So maybe you can think while I just run through it. So they said it's built on Queen. So I think Queen is a model from China. I think it's the one owned by Alibaba. That's Alibaba, the richest man in China, or something like that. So I think he's the one that owns Queen. That's QWEN 2.5 billion.
Alibaba's founder is Jack Ma.
Sorry,
Yeah.
Jack Ma. Yes, Jack Ma. Yeah. Thank you very much for that. Yeah, Jack Ma. So I think Jack Ma owned Queen 2.5. Yeah. So chain of thoughts. It has like a lot of interesting stuff. It has GPT-5 level reasoning, and then at half the size or 1/3 the size. So they said it has like a faster throughput, which means you use 2K tokens per second and makes it ideal runtime app. So you can actually build like, so lower compute costs, and then it's open source for transparency. So you can see everything happening on the hood on Hugging Face, any of those open source platforms, and you can always access this, right? So now UAE is building models. A lot of meanwhile, it's also built by an institution like a university. They called it I think it's the university named after their prince, the Prince of Dubai or something like that.
Interesting. So, it's good to see some new stuff coming out of that part of the world.
Yeah. You have any question for the model?
We gotta train it. Why it doesn't know anything about Tublian? Is the data set is old or what?
Yeah.
I think we should feed that information and say
Yeah.
remember it.
Yeah. So I think, do you have access to the internet? Oh yeah, it doesn't have real-time access to the internet. I guess that's why it doesn't know us. So we are going to, and I think it's actually fast a little bit, 0 seconds.
That's crazy fast.
Because of the question I asked. Yeah, that's crazy fast. Yeah.
Okay, cool.
So yeah. So guys, thank you everyone for joining us today.
Precious. I'll talk to you soon. Take care. Bye.
Yeah. Bye everyone.